Hello everyone, good evening. I see a lot of familiar names in the participants. Good evening everyone, welcome to the session. We have about 130 people in the session. Let's wait for a couple of minutes more. So let's start guys. So let me just first talk about what is the agenda of this session. Why have we called such a session today? So it's basically going to be a live session, a live tech talk session, and I'll be hosting it. And the main agenda of this session is that I'll be inviting a new guest probably every week. We'll try that this happens every week. And these guests are basically people who have been working in the industry for some time and people who are working at top product based companies in India or across anywhere in the world. So I know as software engineers, we all aspire to work for the top product based companies, like companies like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Uber. Like these are some of the examples, again, Facebook, and there are so many more. So we all want to work for these companies, but then we do not really know how to get into such companies, right? There are people who have decent skills also, but even then they are maybe sometimes they cannot perform well in the interviews or one or the other reason. So we will be calling guests from who are already working in such companies. They'll be sharing their journey with us, like how did they prepare themselves from college, how did they reach where they are now, and like they will be sharing their tips with us. They'll be sharing what mistakes they did, and so that we can learn from these mistakes, right? So it will be more about sharing their experiences, and they will, in this way, they will help our students to do better in their career. And if you have any questions, then we will have a Q&A session at the end of the session. So we'll then talk about that, okay? And whatever is the question, you can ask our guest, and they will be happy to answer you. So let me just quickly share my screen, guys. So welcome to the live Tech Talk. This is, as you all know, this is basically brought to you by Geekster. Now, first of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Vikas Ranjan. I currently work as an SD3 at Zomato. I have been working for about over 6 years in the industry. And also I've been very active in the edtech industry, where I have been working for about a couple of years. And I have mentored a lot of students, approximately 1,000 students till now. If somebody wants to reach out to me personally, these are my social media links. Maybe you can take a screenshot. And now let's talk about the agenda of today's session. So we have already covered the first two parts. The third part will be I'll be introducing the guest to you guys, and then we'll ask a few questions to the guest, like based on their experiences, they'll answer it. And then I'll let you know, I'll talk about Geekster, exactly what Geekster does, and then we'll take up all the questions that the students have. Fair enough. And now, guys, let me introduce you to our guest. And our guest is Kunal Singh today. Kunal Singh is a software engineer at Uber. Before this, he has also worked at Flipkart. And this is Kunal's LinkedIn profile. So Kunal, first of all, thanks a lot for coming here. Thanks a lot for taking out your time, especially on a weekend. And welcome to the Tech Talk.
Sure, Vikas. So thanks a lot for inviting me. I hope like back then in my college, I had such fruitful sessions where you are doing an amazing job where I think a lot of young students can get an idea and like with interacting with all the industry experts on how the things are done in the industry versus like how they get to work on things in college. So we hope we get some fruitful insights from today's session.
I am pretty sure, Kunal, if you are sharing your experience, I'm pretty sure students will be very enlightened after this.
We hope so.
Hey, Kunal, so let's start. If you could just introduce yourself, like what you're doing, where you're working. I've actually already done that, but it will be good if you could do that yourself.
Yeah, sure. So currently I'm working as a software engineer with Uber, and I've been with Uber for close to 2 years now. And prior to that, I was working with Flipkart again as a software engineer. And like prior to Flipkart, I started my career with Sapient Nitro. So back then in Sapient, so right then when I like graduated from college, Sapient was my first company that I joined. And then after that, I think 5 years down the line, it has been a very, I think, great journey into this industry.
Great. So after college, you work for Sapient, then Flipkart, then Uber.
Yep.
Great, great. So I think all three are amazing companies to work for. So how has your journey been so far?
Yeah, I think journey has been, I mean, it has been sort of a roller coaster ride. I mean, back then, like back in college, you are limited to with the kind of information you get, but then working in the industry is something that is very different. So when you start to work in the industry, you start to, I mean, there is no fixed set of rules in the industry, as you say. I mean, and in the industry, like you have to face a lot of challenges in your day-to-day work, and it is a lot lot more exciting as well when you get to work on so many complex things that you were dreaming back in your college. So I
Right.
mean, the journey has been amazing. I mean, like down the line 5 years, I mean, back then I started my career initially with Sapient. I mean, that was my first company in which I got introduced into the domain that I'm currently working on now. And then
Right.
from then onwards, it has been a very, I mean, amazing journey, like back to Flipkart and then currently Uber as well.
Okay. So you said you were introduced to the profile. So what profile you are talking about exactly?
Yeah, so I started working as a front-end engineer back in Sapient. So back then in college, I think most of the folks are either like very much focused on competitive programming initially, or they have a niche set of skills that they like to work on. So like it could be either a website development or it could be an app development. And then even in the website development, you have your front-end skills and then you have your back-end skills. So
Right.
back at Sapient, I started primarily as a front-end engineer, focusing on the front-end side of things.
Okay. Okay. So any particular reason you preferred front-end engineering over then like back-end or app development? Any particular reason?
Yeah, it was, I mean, a sort of interesting thing that happened with me. So like back in college, I did one internship in, I think, in Tata Consultancy Services. So there, when I joined, like there was no like nobody was interested in picking up front end for that particular project. Maybe because people didn't like how things at front end work, and then like most of the folks had expertise on back end. So I had an opportunity to pick the front end side of things as an intern. So I mean, front end always excited me. I mean, you build things and then you can build amazing things that you can view in the web browser. And like web browser has this enormous amount of capability. So you can build anything in your browser and like there and then you can view it. So I
Right.
started working as an intern back then in my internship on the front end side of things, and from there itself, I had a sort of interest on the front end.
Great, great, great. That is actually interesting to know. Like I have also seen in my experience that sometimes people are reluctant towards picking up front-end tasks. But honestly, I don't think there's a problem here at Geekster. So when we are training students, we see actually a lot of students who are very, very interested towards doing a front-end work. And especially when we have new students joining in. And so we have a pre-course, which is sort of a trial class for 3 days. So
Okay.
3 days we cover web fundamentals, and then another 3 days we cover programming fundamentals. And if you see the kind of response that we get in the web fundamental classes, that is truly amazing. Like students are mesmerized that in 3 days they could learn bits about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and they
Yeah.
could create a static website. So, guys, do you all agree? How many of you have loved doing the web fundamental session here? Can you just type here in the chat? Type in the chat. Right, you guys have enjoyed, I believe. Great, great, great. So I hope so, Kunal. I think here also we have people who will definitely be very inspired by your journey, because then they have somebody to look up to.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Kunal, let's just talk about, according to you, what are some of the qualities that you think would make somebody successful in the world of technology as of now?
I think the main and the most important quality that someone should have is basically passion for technology. So if you are interested in, like, if you enjoy what you do, and then every day there's something that makes you like be at your feet, and then you like every day you look up to the next day on that exciting thing that you were working last day, and maybe something that you were stuck at. So I think basically that passion for technology is the most, I think, and the most important driving factor for anyone to be successful in the world of technology. And then I think apart from that, like if you're passionate about technology, I mean, understanding the business is also like one of the most, I think, critical competencies that
Right.
like a software engineer should have. So I think you should
Right.
have a very good understanding of, I mean, the domain that your company is operating in, the problem
Right.
that they are trying to solve. Because at the end of the day, we as software engineers are just trying to solve a problem with the help of a software. So if you
Exactly.
understand the problem to the very core and to the depth of it, you can help out your company, you can help out your community, you can help out the, I mean, towards the, like you can contribute towards the goal towards which your company is operating in via the help of,
Exactly.
like via the help of technology.
Exactly. I totally agree. So even when I see like the lives of people have changed so much in the last 10, 15 years, when we were in school, I think at that time, like if I'm from a middle class family, so at that time we didn't have a car, and if we have to commute somewhere, either we had to take an auto rickshaw, or we could not afford things like taxi at that time.
Yeah.
But now, thanks to platforms like Ola and Uber coming in, anybody can take a taxi, and the commute has become so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree on that. I mean, India has seen sort of a digital transformation where we have seen, I mean, the earlier services that, I mean, we were dependent on manually, like we had to manually go and like get those services. Now, I mean, at the click of button, those services are available.
Exactly. Same for any app, like same for Zomato and Swiggy, like getting food delivered in half an hour. Then same for Grofers, getting grocery delivered is so quickly. Same to Amazon and Flipkart. So basically, definitely our lives have changed for the better. Like we would not be having this conversation if this, thanks to technology, we are able to have this.
Exactly.
Great, Kunal. So guys, just if you have any questions, feel free to ask that question in the chat. We'll probably be answering the questions toward the end of the session. But if you have any questions, you can type in the chat right now also. Also, in the interest of the session being more productive, we have muted everyone so that there is no noise and only the guests can speak. Okay. Also, please maintain the decorum of the session. I would request this to everybody. Like somebody is trying to draw something over the screen. So again, that's why I'm repeating that. Please try to maintain the decorum of the class. Okay. And yeah, let's just focus on making these sessions as productive as possible. Cool. So Kunal, in these 5 years in the tech industry, how have you seen the industry changing?
Yeah, I mean, as I told about, I think the digital transformation is the most, I mean, the most important or the biggest change I have seen in India. So like back then, like 5 years down the line, I mean, back then we were like when we were in college as well. So we didn't had any sort of services available to us via our mobile or via our web app. Now we are sitting at a time where like any sort of service we think about or we are used to every day, like they are available at a click of a button. So for example, you can order your food, you can order your groceries, you can even get your milk every day via a subscription through a sort of a grocery app. So any sort of thing. So I mean, this is the exactly same I would say revolution that the Silicon Valley see back then when, I mean, companies were growing up. So I think that exact same revolution India is seeing as well. I mean, and I see India as like one of the top leaders in the, I mean, in the world of IT in the next, I would say 5 to 10 years.
Exactly. So and if we talk especially about the technical side, like leaving the products aside, like if we talk especially about the technical side, like the technology that we have seen in the last 5 or 10 years, like how do you think has the tech industry changed in that form?
Yeah, I mean, since like we started, like since a lot of new startups started to open and like started to offer these services via their platform, so we saw a huge amount of growth in websites and web apps. So plus leading to a sort of like huge amount of opportunities for web developers or app developers. And now like any sort of thing that you see are available to us as a service via a sort of a cloud platform. And like this is like this makes a complete circle where like you start like you I mean start with using the app, then you have lot amount of data that gets generated when people are using that app. So companies are also like, companies want to like analyze that data, and they want to improve all of your complete user experience, plus like give, like I would say, powerful AI driven solutions. So I mean, that growth over the last 5 years, we have seen an enormous amount of growth in terms of app based and web based solutions.
Exactly. Cool. Okay. So Kunal, you have worked with Sapient also, and you have worked with then Flipkart and then Uber. So Sapient, I think, is a Europe-based company, Europe-based MNC.
Yeah.
Uber is US-based, and then Flipkart is Indian-based. So what were the differences that you found in the work culture of all these three companies?
I would say, like, I won't relate the work culture with respect to geographies, because like at the end of the day, almost all of the companies I worked were like trying to solve a problem through the use of technology. So at the end of the day, I mean, it was the complex problem that we were trying to solve going to work every day. So I mean, on all of these companies that I worked, I mean, you were like anytime, I mean, you are given the opportunity to like drive the projects or like drive stuff the way you want to. I mean, you are open to picking up any problem that you are interested in solving, and you are given like the complete freedom in the way you want to solve it in the best possible way. So I think that like that is something I saw common in almost, I think, like back with Flipkart and like again with Uber as well, because at the end of the day, both the companies are trying to solve a problem in their specific domain that they want to like succeed in.
Right. Okay. But let me put it this way, like I believe Flipkart and Uber would be somewhere around 12-15 years back, would have been founded around 12-15 years back, right? And then I think Sapient would be existing much older than that. Right? So what about the working culture difference in both of these? Like they might be working in a startup sort of way, and then Sapient would be working in more of an MNC sort of way. So was there any difference in the work culture that you found between these companies?
Yeah, so I mean, back with Sapient, so I mean, Sapient is sort of a multinational company, and then they have a lot of clients through like to which they basically serve. So I mean, every project that they get is basically like where they're serving a client for their specific.
Right.
So they are bounded by the, I would say, limitations, or I mean, the set of boundaries in which they can operate upon. Plus, because they have to agree to like what all requirements that the client want, and then they have to deliver it within that specific amount of time. But then working in sort of in sort of a product based company, I mean, like you are totally independent in the way how you want to operate. I mean, like again, it has its like again pros and cons, where in sort of a more like product based company, you see a lot of like startup based aspects where like you get to work on a lot of complex stuff, and like there is no limitation on the like kind of area you can contribute upon. So me as a front end engineer, I don't have a limitation that I only have to contribute on front end. I can pick up any stuff and I can contribute upon. I can pick up any stuff on DevOps, I can contribute upon. But then back when I was in Sapient, like as a front end engineer, my role was pretty much restricted to being contributed on the front end side, because there were people for different sort of roles that they were like working with.
Right. So I guess that exposure is more, that opportunity to float around roles is more in product-based companies. But again, at the same time, I think like if it is like a company like Sapient, where it is a big MNC which is spread across geographies, I think you also get a lot of exposure working on the global projects. Like you get to know a lot about what is happening in other countries, and you get to work with clients who are based out of other countries. So I think that is also a different kind of exposure which you get working at such companies.
Exactly. I mean, and with the companies like Uber and Flipkart, so these companies are first tech companies, and then second is what the product that they're trying to sell. So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, these companies thrive for tech excellence. I mean, by tech excellence, I mean the quality of software that they deliver, and they focus a lot on the, the code quality plus, the quality of stuff that you deliver, because at the end of the day, it's the millions of people who are on your platform who are using your services. So if you don't deliver quality product, it would affect the life of these millions of people who are dependent on your platform.
Right, absolutely. Great. Okay, Kunal, a question like, as an SD2 at Uber, like how does your normal day look like?
Yeah, my normal day looks like any other software engineer's normal day. So I basically we start a day with the stand-up, where in the stand-up we discuss any of the items that we have logged in and our current progress, or any of our call-outs that we would like to do to our teammates, so that everyone is aware with what the other person is doing. And then right after stand-up, I spend some time for code reviews. So basically, like code reviews, it is important to give some time every day, I would say, to code reviews, because good code reviews are as important as good quality code that you write. Because when you're writing your code, it's via a single person's perspective, and when like if you give that particular code to the other person, he can think in a totally different way. So that's why code review is very much important. So I spend some time doing the code review of my peers, and then I check out any mails, and then check out for any of the tasks that are planned for me for this particular day. And then I look up to that particular task that I have to finish for that particular day.
Understood. Great. So, so people who do not understand what a code reviews here, just for their perspective. So basically, when you are working at a company and you have a small team of your own, where maybe 10 people are working on the same product, so it is possible that one person has coded something, has made a feature, but it's not that whatever code I write can go directly into production, can go directly at the main website or at the main mobile app. So basically, somebody has to review the code, and they can tell us if we have done something wrong, or maybe there is a better way or a more optimal way to do it. And this is in interest to make the code better, more optimal, to have a higher standard of code, to have a higher standard of the product. So basically, code reviews are an essential part whenever you are working in any company.
Yeah, it's like feedback. Whatever work you do, if you don't ask for feedback, you will not be able to get an idea on where you are doing the mistakes, or if there was a better way to do a particular thing than what you have thought about.
Right. Okay, Kunal, just adding to this question, like how has your role changed in the last 5 years? Like when you joined as a fresher, what was your normal day back then, and how has it changed in the last 5 years?
So I would say back as a fresher, like my main focus used to be, how can I get this task done as fast as possible? Because back then I had this perception that I would want to finish it up my task as early as possible, and then done with the work, and then maybe pick up some more extra tasks so that I can maybe deliver more. But then as I started working in the industry, I realized, the quality of your work is more important than how early you can finish it. Because if you ship your code to the best quality as possible, you won't have to redo it. Because I think redoing it is the most painful thing for a software engineer.
Right.
So as I grew as a software engineer, my focus started shifting towards focusing more on quality. So anytime I pick up any task, I maybe think it in sort of a multiple ways this problem can be solved, and then pick the best possible way in which this problem can be solved. So that we don't have to redo it again, and also it does not affect any other code that is there in production. So it started with growing with thinking about many things that are there in the system, and then correlating it with your work. So when we start as a fresher, we are more or less thinking about our work, how to deliver our own good quality work. But then it's not about it's not about our own work, because we don't work in silos. So we work in team, and then our work affects the overall quality of the application that these millions of users are doing.
Right. So back then, I guess you would not be doing code reviews at that time, or maybe you were not mentoring other teammates at that time, which you are doing now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Can you just like tell us about what are the technologies that you have worked on so far in Sapient, Flipkart, and Uber?
Yeah, so back in Sapient, when I started, I mean, the front end world was just like going through this boom. I mean, JavaScript, jQuery, and all of these front end frameworks were like growing rapidly. So back
Okay.
then in Sapient, I started initially with pure, like I would say, vanilla JavaScript, and then I worked with jQuery up till some amount of time. And
Okay.
then I moved on to like React. And then when I moved on to Flipkart, almost all of the projects and teams were based on React. So
Okay.
I mean, my entire time in Flipkart, I was working in React itself. And then when I moved on to Uber as well, I was like I am currently working in React itself. So there are other frameworks involved, but then primarily React is what we used on the front end side of things.
Okay. So even though you are not working on the backend, but can you tell our students like what are the technologies that are being used on in the backend in your team?
Yeah, I would say back then I was so I think I can talk about like right from starting. So in Sapient, since Sapient had multiple clients, so all of these
Right.
clients had specific requirements on the technologies they are also comfortable with. So when you
Right.
work with like multinational clients, these multinational companies, these clients also come with very specific requirements that I mean the tech stack they are comfortable in, the tech stack that they feel is the best for best from security point of view. So I mean,
Right.
back then in Sapient, multiple teams had different sort of tech stack that they followed. For example, some projects in backend was like we're using Java for like backend development, and then some projects were using .NET. And
Okay.
then when I moved to Flipkart, I mean, Flipkart's backend was like purely in Java, I would say. I mean, most of the services were like written in Java, and it was a microservice based architecture where everything they design is sort of a microservice, and
Okay.
then like every microservice has their own database that
Right.
it.
Right.
So Flipkart was like primarily, I would say, Java heavy. And then when I moved on to Uber, so initially, like Uber was like a lot of services in Uber were written in Node.js and Python. But then, like with the advent of time, I think Golang saw a huge amount of, I would say, usage in the
Right.
industry. So Uber also started shifting a lot of their services in Golang. So now Uber is like Golang heavy on backend, and then like on front end again it is React. Plus I think on Android and iOS, like it is the like their own, I mean, Swift and Java that is used on the mobile apps.
Okay. And what is the database that you guys use? Is it Mongo or MySQL?
I would say like there's no specific database. I mean, it depends on the kind of usage that you have. I mean, what kind of
Right.
data source that you are data store that you are looking out for. So I mean, if like it is sort of, so it depends on what sort of like what is the nature of your app and like what sort of data you want to store to. So if it is a relational sort of data, I mean, most of the teams look forward to MySQL. But then if it is sort of a document based store, I mean, there are MongoDB and other like database as well. Plus, Uber has a lot, I would say, in-house, I would say, data source as well. And where, I mean, depending on a specific requirement, I mean, you can choose Uber's in-house, I would say, data source as well. So a lot of it depends on the nature of your web app or the service that you are writing.
Great. Great. Makes sense. Okay. Now this is a very important question that everybody, all the participants here want to know. Like, does your company hire freshers? So we are talking about all the three companies. We can talk about Sapient, Flipkart, and Uber, all of these three. So do they hire freshers? And if yes, like what is the criteria? What are the skill set that they look for usually?
Yeah, I mean, I would say all of these three companies hire freshers. So, one, like they visit your colleges. I mean, they hire via these campus placements. And if they're not visiting your college, all of these companies, like they have these, I would say, hiring drive for the lateral entry. So once the college hiring is done, so most probably in your last semester, these companies like bring out the I would say advertisement for the lateral hiring where you can apply directly on the portal. So if the like if the opening is there, you can directly apply on the portal, or you can get yourself referred. And once your resume is shortlisted, you go via that normal same round that is there in the college hiring as well.
Okay, so when you said that the openings are there on the portal, are you like talking about portals like LinkedIn or the company's website?
Yeah, so it's both actually. So the companies, I mean, the first notification is out on the company's career portal, and then the recruiters also add that same opening in LinkedIn as well. So in LinkedIn, you can directly apply as well as you can also apply on the portals.
Okay, great. And you said you can get yourself referred. So by referred, you means we can reach out to people. Like if somebody has to work at Uber, maybe they can reach out to you over LinkedIn and they can request you to for a referral, right?
Exactly. So you can connect with different people who are working across different companies, and then maybe you can drop them a message, and then probably if they have time, probably if they can refer you, I mean, that basically improves your chance of getting shortlisted. So I think I would say referrals are like very much important in getting yourself the first shortlist. I mean, obviously, I mean, you can directly apply, and if you're just applying, it doesn't mean that your application would be rejected. But then if you are getting yourself referred, that means someone else from that same company is vouching for your skills. So I think that would improve your chances for getting shortlisted.
Exactly. Totally agree. Okay. Okay. How do you think our students should prepare to crack the recruitment process of top IT companies like Flipkart, Uber for an SD role? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say, I mean, the most important would be here to focus on the fundamentals. So all of the product based, or I would say any sort of company who is working in the IT industry, I mean, they basically demand strong fundamental skills from freshers, because if you have strong fundamental skills, you can pick up any sort of programming language, you can pick up any sort of framework, any sort of stuff that you are interested in or the company requires you to pick up. So I would say fundamentals are the most important thing. So by fundamentals, I mean, for a computer science graduate, the fundamentals would basically be your data structure and algorithm skills. And then some of your core subjects, that I would say operating systems is one important subject. Then you have your computer networks, databases. Because like at the end of the day, when you are writing or designing any sort of service, or you're writing any sort of app or website, I mean, these are some of the subjects which, like, whose skills you would use in your day-to-day work as a software engineer. So that is why, like, the focus on fundamentals is the, I think, most important thing.
Right.
And then apart from that, like and even in these fundamental skills, I would say the problem solving skills is again the most important thing. So by problem solving, I mean the data structure and algorithm, like data structure and algorithmic skills, because at the end of the day, when you're writing softwares, you are basically trying to solve a problem with the help of a software. So you have to tell a computer to do a thing to solve a problem, and then if you have to tell a computer a thing, you need to find a way, the best possible way in which you can tell the computer, so that the computer can do it in the fastest possible way. So the best way to tell that would be to write a lot of code where you can use a lot of data structures and algorithm skills. So by having good data structure skills, you would be very efficient in picking up which data structure you would need for a specific set of tasks that you need to do for the kind of app or the website that you are developing. And then if you have good algorithmic skills, you can, like, again, you can, with the use of data structures, you can write efficient code, because at the end of the day, what matters is how efficient code you are writing, because the code that you're writing would actually live on some sort of hardware that the company is owning. And if your code is slow, basically that would also eat up more maybe hardware resources or more maybe disk resources, and it would again lead to the cost that the company is spending.
Absolutely. Also, I think there is like people need to be decent in one programming language, I believe, like so that you can code your data structure algo in that particular language. I think for a fresher, it can be any of them, like C, C++, Java, whatever they learn in the college. So I think if they are decent in one programming language, I think that should be fine if you're a fresher.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, I would say, freshers like have this question as to which programming language is the best when they start
Exactly,
out.
exactly.
Like me, when I was back there in college, I spent a considerable amount of time in picking which one should be the best programming language, but which I should pick. But then there is no best programming language. I mean, programming language is just like a tool inside your toolbox. So every programming language could be used for a specific kind of purpose in which that language is best in. So for example, if you're writing web app, you have to learn JavaScript. If you are doing AI/ML, you have to learn maybe Python. And
Right.
then if you're writing like hardware specific code, you have to like go with C or
C
C++.
or C++, right.
Yeah, so I would say choose the best. I mean, choose the programming language which you think has the least amount of learning curve, or maybe that can help you in sort of like which has a less amount of learning curve, and which you feel you can pick it up easily. So for some people it is Python, some people like C and C++ more, because like back in their school time, some or the other, I mean, in some or the other class, we have this curriculum where we
Right.
get introduced to the initial, like I would say, introduction to either C or Java.
Right. Absolutely. So I totally agree with your point. Like many, even in the chat right now, we already have a lot of questions where people are asking, "So, which is the best programming language?" So, as Kunal rightly said, there is no best programming language. Every programming language is different in its own. It has a purpose, right? So one may be better in one use case, one can be better for another use case. And I always give the example of a cricket team in this case. Like in a cricket team, you have 11 players, and all 11 players may have different skill sets. Like if somebody is a batsman, somebody may be aggressive, somebody may be defensive, right? Again, another person is a bowler. In bowler also, somebody is a pace bowler, somebody is a spin bowler, somebody is a wicket keeper. So you cannot say that one person is the most important person in the team. Everybody has a different purpose. So similarly, every programming language, and at the same time, like some people also ask, which is the most important data structure? So again, every data structure is also important, and they have a different application. So you need to study all of these things properly to be able to make a choice. But I think if as Kunal said that if you are clear with the fundamentals, I don't think it would take a lot of time to pick up with any programming language.
Sure. Plus, I think a lot of people have this question that, like, where they ask that how many problems that they need to solve to get into maybe any sort of
Over,
product
right.
companies. I would say, like, one should not equate it with the number of problems that you have to solve. So what if I tell you that you can solve 100 problems, and then like you will be able to clear with all of these companies, but then if like when you solve those 100 problems, maybe you did not solved it in the best possible way, and you did not grasp the most amount of knowledge for all the different data structures. You would not be
Right.
able to clear like crack all of these like coding questions. So I think what is more important again is like getting through the fundamentals, and then fundamentals of every data structure, like why did that data structure was thought about, what are the pros and cons, and then like what is the runtime correctness. And then once you're clear with all of those fundamentals, maybe you can be cleared with all of those fundamentals maybe in 5 questions for that data structure, or maybe 10 questions. So that
Right.
depends on you, how much you are grasping like the knowledge of data structures for with every question that you do.
Great. Exactly. Cool. We have already talked about this, but like just clear it out. Like data structure, algorithm, logic building versus expertise in any one particular technology. What would you weigh more?
So I think I would say data structures and algorithm is the basic of everything, I would say. So
Right.
data structures and algo. So like one example I can give is, so for example, you are interested in learning physics back in school time, but then you don't like mathematics. So if you don't like mathematics, physics, I mean, physics is of no use, because
Right.
everywhere it is mathematics. So
Right.
similarly with software industry, like you are trying to, like you have to, like anytime you're writing code, you're telling computer to do something with the set of instructions that you are writing in your code.
Exactly.
So and like and that demands like expertise in data structures and algorithm skills, because if you have good data structure skills, you will be able to write efficient code.
Right.
And then talking about the expertise in one particular technology, so I think expertise in a technology is also important, because that would like lay the foundation of what particular field or what particular domain you have your interest on and which particular domain you can pick for your career as a software engineer. Because like getting to know that is also very much important, because I see a lot of folks who join company but then they don't know if they are interested in front end or maybe back end or then app development. So then they have to maybe test and try out every different things, and then they get to they get to know the best sort of like technology that they are interested in, and then they pursue their career in that particular technology. So I would say both of them are like important to each other. I would say one complements the other. So I mean, you cannot write efficient code in a particular technology if you're not good in DS and Algo.
Exactly.
Plus, if you're good in DS and Algo, like expertise in particular technology or sort of a domain helps you like put all of those learnings into practice.
Right. Okay. Kunal, moving on, apart from the technical skills, like we talked about data structure, algorithm, any particular language, logic building, apart from all of these skills, do you think there are any other non-technical skills that are important for somebody to get into a good job or to excel in their career?
Yeah, I would say like networking is the most important skill I would recommend to anyone who is starting out their career, because like at the end of the day, like if you have a good network of friends who are working in similar industry, or it could be seniors, it could be mentors,
Exactly.
they can guide you because they are working in that particular industry, so they can guide you with the pros and cons and the things that you would face when you would join the industry.
Exactly.
So I think if you have a very good network, maybe on LinkedIn, I mean, try to like connect with different seniors of your college who are in good product based companies, or it could be like any senior that who is like any senior or a person of a company who is very much active on a social media platform, and you think that you can learn a lot from him. So it is important to like network and connect with multiple folks, because at the end of the day, networking will help you reach out to these different folks, and then if there is an opening in their company, you can straight away ask for a referral.
Exactly. Great, Kunal. Thanks. Any final parting words to the people here, to our students right now? Any final tip that you'd want to give?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like I mean, the whole field of computer science is like so vast that you have so many, I would say, technologies, you have so many programming language. I mean, when you if you think that you can the complete field right in your college or maybe in 1 to 4 years, it would be very difficult, and you would start feeling intimidated by the breadth that this particular industry has. So I would say like focus on the fundamentals, and then maybe try to get a more, I would say, knowledge in depth, like select a particular technology and then go into complete depth for that particular technology and maybe master it. Because at the end of the day, what matters in industry is not how many different programming languages or how many different technologies you know, but then how much expertise you have in one particular skill that you have, because the company will hire you for a particular skill that you are good in.
Right, absolutely. Okay, Kunal, I just thought of another question. So this is out of syllabus, but so we all know now about your success stories. Like we know about Flipkart, we know about Uber, and this might sound really fancy to a lot of people. But when students try this, like they would be going with very high hopes for an interview, suppose with Flipkart or Uber, and we get rejected, right? So tell us about your failure stories, how did you, when were you rejected, and how did you cope up with that rejection? Like, what is the contribution of those rejections in your success story, and what did you learn from them?
I would say like rejections is something that most of us would face that, and like one should not deny, or one cannot deny that you cannot face rejections, maybe in your college when you're trying to apply for internships, or maybe going out for jobs, or then in your like day-to-day work. But then like the biggest lesson for me, it was to never keep on trying. So like even if you face rejections, there could be mistakes that you were doing. So I think it is important to introspect on the like the mistakes that you were doing, and then keep on trying again and again. So like after one time you will like hit the target. So it's not like the industry is sort of a sort of a rocket science thing where like
Exactly.
you need to be completely like expert in thriving or getting into the top companies. I mean, what is important is like you should never give up and always keep on trying with what your goal is.
Exactly. And as you said, like introspection is a very important point. So if somebody is able to identify what their weak points are, like somebody may not be good at DS algo, somebody would not be good at say puzzles or problem solving, or maybe there are some companies which take an aptitude round. So I think it is very important to figure out like what are the areas that you're weak, and if you're able to find that out, then start working on that particular thing. If you went to an interview, you could not answer a question, I think the first thing you should do as soon as you come out of that interview is that you should Google that question and try to find the answer for that. So basically this way only you'll be able to improve yourself.
Yeah, I mean, one more point I would like to add in is like rather than maybe solving 10 questions every day over a period of 6 months and then hoping that you would become very good at like almost like competitive coding or maybe data structures and algorithm, it is good to maybe set a small target and then try to get like grasp the most amount of knowledge that you can do with whatever target that you're setting. So maybe you try to set a small target and then you keep on achieving those small targets, and those small targets over a period of time can like help can do a compounding effect on your knowledge that you have. Because I mean, I would say data structures or coding skills or programming skills, it's all basically mental models. So like you cannot become a very good programmer over the night, or you cannot
Right.
become a very good programmer by just reading the book. So
Right.
it's sort of experience that you would get as you work in the software industry and as you spend like more amount of time. So even if you are not able to solve a problem one day, maybe try next day and redo it again. And then if you're not able to do it again, maybe spend some more time and think in a different way. But then at one point you will be able to solve it.
Right, absolutely. So Kunal, I think these were the questions I had. We have a lot of questions that is coming in the chat, so we'll take up that.
Sure.
But before going to these questions, I just want a 2 minutes break where I want to talk about Geekster. So we have a lot of students who are already studying at Geekster, so that is great. But there are some people who have come from different other sources, like people who have come from social media and many other sources. So I just want to tell people about Geekster now. Uh, so guys, basically, if first of all, thanks for attending this session. We will take up the questions in a short while, so do not leave. Very important. Okay. So those of you don't know, basically, Geekster is a place where we teach you and help you in your computer science journey. Okay. So basically, how do we do that? That's the most important question. So basically, we have a well-structured program that runs for about 6 months. Okay. And here we have live online classes. We give you live projects. We conduct mock interviews for you. We have these live online classes are actually through instructors who are actually really doing really good for themselves. Like all the instructors are working for top product-based companies themselves. So they have the experience, they have the talent, they have the skills, and these are the people who will be guiding you. Again, when we also assign you to a mentor for a one-on-one session, and these mentors look at you closely, and they also are working for good product-based companies. Then we take mock interviews where you guide you where you are lagging and what you should improve on, and we also help you in your soft skills and career guidance. So these are some of the instructors that we have. So, and this is not just total, but we cannot accommodate everyone in one single slide. But some of the educators that we have, and you can see that people are working at different companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Mercedes, Google, Paytm, all these different companies, right? Now, what is our mission exactly? What are we trying to achieve? We first prepare you for industry standard coding. So it's not that we will do some bacha level wala coding and then we'll say that go and give interviews. We'll actually do projects, and whatever code that we'll do are something that companies ask you in their sessions. Okay. And as I said, that you learn from industry experts, people who are already working for these companies. Okay. So like I am somebody who takes live session at Geekster. Okay. And then we also help you out in finding your true potential. Like somebody may be really good at data structure algo, somebody may be really good at front end, somebody may be really good at back end. So we also try to help you out with all of these things because we actually have a very one-to-one relationship with every student. Okay. So we basically have two tracks. One is a Java program track and one is a web fundamental track. So when I talk about Java program track, so here we cover programming fundamentals in Java. Okay, that is for about a month, and these are some of the topics that we cover. Then we also cover data structure fundamentals in the Java track. Okay, because obviously you cannot just learn Java and then do good. You need to know data structures and algorithm. So first we first we read about the fundamental topics in data structure, like what is time and space complexity, array, string, recursion, stack queues, linked list, binary search trees, all of these. Then we come to the advanced backend part. In the advanced backend part, we learn the advanced concepts of Java, and then we also learn about things like how to integrate Java to a database, and we usually do either MongoDB or MySQL. Then we learn about Spring Boot and all these frameworks. Then we learn about the RESTful web APIs and how can you create APIs of your own so that which you can return to the front end. And then there is another section of advanced DSA where we discuss about the complicated topics of a DSA, which can be like trees in detail, graph, hash map, tries. Okay, and then we do a lot of algorithmic stuff like divide and conquer methods, like dynamic programming methods and all of these. And then we do a lot of programming here, which are also a little more complicated. Coming to the web fundamental track, guys, which is basically, when I say web fundamental, we mostly focus on the MERN stack, which is MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. So here in the MERN program stack, we first start with the web fundamental, where we give you a essence of what HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is. Then we do a data structure fundamental here as well. And then we go to the advanced front end, where we mostly talk about React and Redux. So you already know basic JavaScript. We tell you the core of JavaScript, and then we start with React.js and Redux as a data store. Once we are done with this, then we move to the backend part, where we talk about microservices, we talk about Node.js, Express, and then we learn the important parts. We learn about REST APIs, all of this in the advanced backend stuff. And then we also have an advanced DSA. As I said, DSA is very important. So DSA is included in both the programs. So one program is focused towards Java as a track, because as Kunal mentioned, there are a lot of companies who work on Java. And then the other stack is mostly based on MERN. Okay, now let's go ahead and what do we exactly do? So as I said, we do a mentorship for you. We also help you with communication skills. We also take mock interviews, and we also help you with referrals. Now, referrals is a very important point, guys. So what exactly happens is that students get enrolled with us. As I said, we have a trial class of 6 weeks, which we call it a pre-course. Okay, you attend the pre-course. Within these 6 days, we will have 3 days of Java fundamentals and 3 days of web fundamentals. Okay, and then in these 6 days, if you have a good experience, then you can take up the test to get into our main course. If you do well in the test, then this main course starts. In the main course, we actually offer you everything that we are committing. And then comes the referral point, where we have a tie-up with a lot of companies. These companies include some of the leading startups also, some product-based companies also, and some services-based companies also. We refer you to companies, we help you to clear the interviews. And once you're able to clear the interview and you get a job, only then you have to pay something. So I think that is the most important point of our entire course, that it is a complete pay after placement program. You do not have to pay us a single penny initially. Only when you land up to a job which has a minimum of 5 lakhs per annum CTC, only then you have to pay something. So basically, this is how we go. And I think the most amazing part of the program is that it is a complete pay after placement program. So it does not give any financial burden on you. Okay, this is the basic process. You have to attend the pre-course, and you have to take up the test. Then IS is basically an agreement where you agree that, okay, if I land up to a job after this course, then I'll make the payment. Then we start with the learning, we help you with the placement, and then finally you have to pay. So guys, this was most about Geekster. There is a very small video that we have already prepared. I am sharing this here in the Zoom chat, okay? And I would request all of you to go through this. It's a 1-minute video. If you want, I can play it right now. I'm not sure if it will be audible, but I'm just playing it right now, okay?
So you want to be a full stack developer? Here's what you do.
Are you able to hear this, guys?
Appear for the admission test. Get on a video call with us and that's it. Worried about the fees? Nah, you pay after getting the job. Just sign the ISA contract and you're set. Now the classes begin. So get in your pajamas, take a deep breath and start. Learn data structures, learn JavaScript, HTML, React, Node, Express, and soft skills as well. Write code every day. Run into errors, scream, go hit a punching bag, come back, consult your teachers, fix the errors. Continue practicing. Master front end, master back end, take on live projects, build a portfolio, get referred to top companies, crack the job interview, land your dream job. Now you pay Geekster. And don't worry, we take it in installments. Ever heard of anything like it? No? That's because you haven't heard of Geekster. Let's get started.
Become a data analyst in 6 months with Coding Innovators. We will teach you with Python, SQL.
Great, guys. So this was mostly about it. Let's now start taking up programs. If you have any more questions about Geekster, about the course, we'll take up at the end of the session. But first, let's now take up the questions because we already have Kunal waiting. I'm sorry for this, Kunal. Let's start taking up the questions. Okay. So I'm going through the chat. If you have any more questions, you can start putting it now. Okay, the first question is from Neeraj. Okay, now there's one more question. Tell us about interview process and how to crack. So I think, Kunal, you already have answered a bit about it, but then you can tell us more about your interview process at Uber if there are some what rounds are there and for a fresher, maybe more relevant to a fresher. Kunal, you are on mute. Sorry, you're still on mute. Now, can you try it?
Yeah. So I would say at Uber, I mean, if a fresher is like coming in for a like job at Uber, I would say it starts with online coding round. So I mean, the online coding round is mostly like, I would say 1 or 2 questions mostly that you have to solve in a span of, I would say 45 to 60 minutes. So those questions are mostly like DSA and like algorithm heavy. And then once you clear that and you are shortlisted, you are then moved on to the on-site rounds. So on the on-site round, you basically have a problem solving round. So that is again a DS and algo heavy round. So I mean, in a sort of a 1 hour duration, you will be asked to solve 2, I would say, algo questions. And then once you clear your problem solving round, you then move on to the coding round. So in the coding round, you are asked to build something basically. So by build, I mean, it would not be an app or a website, but something that like some sort of thing that you can build that would depict your, I would say, code organization or object-oriented programming or sort of coding skill. So for example, you can be asked to build a command line chess game.
Okay.
So in a sort of I would say 45 again to 60 minutes duration, you have to make this like sort of application. So what they look for in this round is how you basically divide your problem into individual sub modules, and then how you like organize your code. You like, do you use any design patterns to picking up the sort of solution that you're building? So most probably like the skills related to your coding. And then once you clear this, you are then moved on to the hiring manager round. So the hiring manager round, and so in the hiring manager round, the questions would more or less be specific to your resume. So the kind of work that you have done in your college, so mostly about your internships or projects, or like the final year project that you have done, maybe your interest. So this round would more or less would be heavy on the kind of work that you have done in your college. And then I think that would be the last round.
Okay, great. Okay, next question is from Neeraj. I want to learn Java and HTML. When will these sessions happen? Okay, Neeraj. So basically these sessions at Geekster. So we already have started with a web fundamental class. I think this was started last week. So maybe you can put all of these questions. If you're already here at Geekster, you can put all of these questions with your instructor also. But the web fundamental session has started. Java also will be starting really soon. Okay, so just look out for notifications from Geekster will keep announcing this. How to crack an interview? Okay, Neeraj, can you be more specific about which interview are you talking about? Like if you, like Kunal just answered it about Uber. Okay, so if you have a more specific question about something, then you can ask it. Okay. What are the main requirements to crack a job in product-based companies? Kunal, do you want to take this?
Yeah, I think I can take this. So I think the most important thing, again, as I told, was your, like, I would say problem solving and algorithmic skills. So once you are good with that, you probably need to depict those skills. So how do you depict those skills? You pick up some projects, like the side projects that you can do, and then like it could be either via an internship that you do in your college, or it could be a sort of a side project that you do along with your friends, and then maybe you upload that on GitHub basically, because and then you can mention that in your resumes as well, because how do you tell the company that okay, you are good, okay, I mean you are good with the algorithmic skills, but then like how good are you with building things? So you can so in your resume itself, I mean you can host your project in GitHub and then add the link for that project maybe in your GitHub resume as well. So if the recruiters or the team want to like check out if this person is really good in what he's doing, maybe they can check out with the examples that you have put in.
Absolutely. Okay. Another question, Kunal, is that what kind of questions are asked for MERN-Stack? It's not heavily DSA based, right?
Yeah, so like I would say, like if you think about any framework or the technology that you're working in, so it depends on how much complex problem that you're trying to solve. So for a basic use case, if you pick any sort of domain, you would not be using any sort of, I would say, data structures other than array. So it depends on what you're trying to build. So if the solution you're trying to build is very complex, you would have to use a sort of a data structure that can efficiently solve your problem. So for example, giving an example for MERN, I would say, so what if I tell you that maybe the application that you're building, you have to scale it for millions of users. So how would you do that? So how does your MERN app scale for millions of users or maybe millions of requests per second?
Right. So I think that the data structure algo would still be a very important part, even if like you're going to for any technology. Yeah. But like for a fresher, I would say that maybe this question might not be very relevant. Like for a fresher, maybe they would not ask something like scaling for 1 million users. But still, I think basic DS algo, as Kunal mentioned, is very important for everybody.
Yeah, like one more example I can give is, so if you're working on front end and then maybe you're building a component. So people say that like front end, like there is no use of DSA on front end, but what if I tell you that you have to maybe build a component that is sort of a tree select? So it would show you a sort of a drop down, and then it is sort of a city select, and then you display a list of countries, and then every country has states, and then states has cities. So how do you design your component in that case? How do you traverse? So what if I tell you, you also have to search first, you have to give search in your drop down with that component. Now comes the use case of DSA on front end.
Exactly. So we always get, I think, such cases on the front end also. So people who say that DSA has no role to play on the front end, that is absolutely not true. I agree. Yeah. Okay, most used language by tech companies.
So I would say most used languages are the languages which are the oldest in the industry, I would say.
Right.
I think Java is the most used language in the industry. I think Java, Node.js as well, and then Python. So I would say Java, Python, Node are the most used languages. But and then now newer startups and like all these companies are also like have also started to use Golang on the backend side.
Exactly. So basically Java, JavaScript, and Python, you are saying, are the most used right now. And Golang is also catching up a lot.
Yeah.
Importance of DSA, I think we have already talked about this a lot. Okay, next question is, Kunal sir, what technology are we required, we should learn to start career as a front-end developer?
Okay, so I think as a front-end developer, the most important technology I would say would be to first master JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So I think,
absolutely,
and in which like it should be JavaScript heavy. So because most of the front-end apps that you will be building will be like almost 99% JavaScript only. So
Correct.
you have to be very proficient in JavaScript. I mean, get a grasp all of the core concepts that JavaScript has, because if you're very good with JavaScript, you can pick up any front-end framework that is out there. And because since frameworks come and go, so if you are good with JavaScript, you can pick up any new framework that is hot in the market.
All right, absolutely. Okay. Next question is, sir, how far will technology affect our lives in near future?
I think that is a very subjective question to answer. I would
Right.
say it has already affected us. I mean, we are so much used to our mobile phones with all of these applications and like the services that we use via the web app or maybe application. So I think in near future, I would say our entire lifestyle has already changed. I would say we are so much and glued to the applications and the services. So I think that again, I mean, technology again has both a like positive side and negative side. So it depends on how we use for our good purpose.
Exactly. Okay, next question is, what is the future of computer science students on this field?
I would say the future would always remain bright because, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you would always need some sort of, I mean, people would always be using some sort of gadgets around themselves, and all of these gadgets will be people will be using any application or service on all of these gadgets. So I would say, as computer science students, you will always have the opportunity to maybe pick up something and maybe learn and then also contribute to the society, I would say.
Right. Also, I think like human beings are very greedy creatures, so we are never going to stop wanting better. And so like we are now building monorail and bullet trains and all of that, and we are building electric cars. So once we have these things very common, then we'll start building something new, and everywhere you will need a better software also. Like Android and iOS keeps on updating themselves because we need something better every time. So I think computer science is definitely a field which is going to be, and the future for computer science is going to be bright as of now. Okay, another question is, sir, I am a mechanical engineer. Is this any future? Okay, sir, I'm a mechanical engineer. In this field, my branch matters after I go up through top company. Okay. So I think the person means that he is not a computer science student, he's a mechanical engineer. So how much would his branch matter if he want to, as he starts growing in his computer science career?
I would say the branch would not matter. It would not matter. Basically, at the end of the day, what the companies are looking out for is how good software you can write, how good are you with the the data structures, algorithmic, or the any sort of domain skill that you have, maybe app development or website development, because that is what matters. So I mean, a lot of folks I have seen previously as well and currently as well, a lot of folks are not computer science graduates in their colleges, but then out of interest they pick up programming in their college time, and then they are also with very good companies, because since they are good with coding and algorithmic skills, they are able to sit in the placement of all of these computer science companies are, and they are able to crack that. So I would say branches not at all a hindrance in your career as a software engineer.
Absolutely, I totally agree with this. Okay, I think this is a good question coming out. Is it advisable to work with big brands rather than a startup? What factor makes a difference?
So I would say it depends on what kind of work that you are getting. So it could be that you're working with a very big brand, but then there is a new team forming which is picking up a new project, and then you have a lot of learning opportunity in that new project that is getting started up. So you will have a great learning opportunity in that particular project. There could also be a use case where a big brand has a very, I would say, old legacy project that does not have a lot of learning opportunities. So I would say it totally depends on the kind of work that particular company is doing. So a big brand could also offer you a very good work. A startup could also offer you a very good work.
Absolutely, totally agreed. Okay, somebody has a question. If someone has an experience in non-tech and now decides to switch to IT industry after 7-8 years of engineering, then what are the challenges they have to face and how to handle them?
I would say if after so much gap, if you are interested in switching to this career, I think the biggest hurdle that you will face is how do you make the recruiters notice your profile? Like how, like what should, like why should recruiters reach out to you if there are so many fresher or good candidates out there? So I think
Right.
to tackle that would be, I mean, first again, you would have to be good at computer science fundamentals, and then you would have to build your online presence on making some of the like projects, and then maybe uploading that on GitHub, and then
Right.
maybe having your own portfolio page, so that
Right.
if at any time in future, if you're a company, you might not have like previous experience, but then if you can vouch that, or if you can like add in all of the work that you have done in order to prepare for that, like the recruiters will be, I think, fine enough in giving you an opportunity for interview.
Exactly. And as Kunal said, that making the online presence, I think, is very important. And you can do that, like Kunal already mentioned about building some projects and then putting it up on GitHub, making your resume online. And then you can also like, take up projects. You can start with small, you can start with smaller companies, or you can start taking up projects on platforms like, you say, Upwork or a freelance platform. Okay. And then these are some places where you can start building your portfolio. And then once you have done some project, then I think it will get easier for you to get a job, a regular full-time job, I think. What is the starting package at these companies, including Uber, for freshers? Munib, I'm sorry, I don't think this is something that we should talk about, because like the starting package is something that keeps on changing very frequently. May differ from a candidate to candidate. So this is not something that we should be telling you about. Like this is somebody I think the HR at Uber should be telling you about. Sir, I am a BCA graduate, want to become a full stack developer. What to do?
Okay, so I would say as a BCA like graduate, I mean I would say like to all of you, don't associate your previous or the current field with maybe the software industry in a positive or negative way. I would say anybody can pick up software engineering, I would say, and then the path again remains the same. So if a person is maybe starting after 30 years odd, or maybe just starting out fresh from the college, I would say the curriculum and then the path remains same. What differs is how you reach out to recruiters. I mean, how can you get that like opportunity, or connect with recruiters to out for that like particular job opening that you're interested in. So a lot of companies have a specific criteria on for a kind of role that is open. So for example, a lot of companies like will add these into the like the preferred educational qualifications. I mean, they are very specific on the I mean the degree, the bachelor's degree you have, they are very specific on the number of years of experience that you have. So that totally depends again on the role that you're interested in.
Absolutely. Okay, another question is, how is the training done after joining companies? I don't think all the companies have a training program for freshers. Like some do not, and these programs also differ. Like usually in the service-based companies, the training programs are better. I would honestly say that the training programs are better. Like they have a 3-month training program or a 6-month training program where they actually have instructors coming from outside, like corporate instructors coming in and training you. So these companies have a well-structured, elaborate training programs. Kunal, how is it in companies like Flipkart or Uber? Do they have a specialized training program for freshers?
I would say like they don't have a specialized training program, because like once like if they are hiring you, I mean you are like, they are sure shot that you are very good in problem solving and algorithmic skills, and you're also good in coding. So and then they assume that if you are good in sort of fundamentals, you can pick up any sort of framework and technology in a short span of time. So like you will initially get some time to get ramped up with the project that you're working on, or the kind of technology that is used in that particular project. But there is no sure shot, I would say, training program for the freshers that are coming in.
Right. Okay. Also, I think like in these product-based companies or startups, it's mostly your manager's responsibility or lead's responsibility to help you learn stuff. Like they do not have something that is very formally structured. But if you have a good manager, if you have a good lead, they help you in these materials and resources which you should do for learning. Like some teams have it documented also. Like our team at Zomato has it documented, but then there are other teams which do not. So it really depends on different teams and your manager.
Exactly. I mean, the learning curve also differs. I mean, anyone else could pick a sort of framework or a technology in a very short span of time, but then the other person who has never used that technology or framework could maybe demand a more time or sort of more time to invest in that particular thing. So I think that is why product companies keep it completely flexible, and it totally depends on the team that you are joining.
Okay. Okay, guys, I think we have already spent a lot of time, so I won't be able to take new questions now. Whatever questions we already have, we'll just answer them and we'll wrap up the session. So we won't be able to take up new questions now, but we'll answer the question that you guys have already asked. Okay, so okay, somebody has asked, I'm a fresher. I want to crack product-based company interview for the front-end role. What are the main topics we need to discuss or focus? I think Kunal has already answered that first you should start with the fundamentals, which is for a front-end role, it is mostly HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And also you need to be good at fundamentals of things like data structures and algorithms, and maybe the basics of data structures of algorithms like arrays, linked lists, stack queues, binary search trees, searching, sorting, all of these things at least you should know. And at the same time, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are the most important, which you should master yourself. Once you are good at that, then maybe you can pick up any technology. I think any framework, maybe like a Redux, which is very popular right now. Okay, somebody has asked, can you please discuss on the future of Flutter? Is it worth learning?
I think it depends on your use case and why do you want to use Flutter. So because any sort of framework that you choose for the kind of work that you are doing, and you would also have 10 or 15 sort of alternatives that are already available, and every alternative is like popular for a sort of a very specific purpose that is it. So I think it totally depends on why do you want to use Flutter and like what is the use case.
Right. Somebody is asking, have you faced rejection? How to face it? I think Kunal has already answered this question. Okay, somebody is asking, currently on which project are you working on? Can you talk about that? Is it allowed?
I think I would not be able to answer that, but then at a very high level, I can answer that my team is trying to stop frauds that happen across different platforms of Uber.
Great, very impressive. Okay, which one is good for our future, front end or back end?
I think again it depends on your interests. So if you're not interested in front end, but then if somebody says that the future is great, and if you pick that, you will not be able to continue for a very long period of time. So it again depends on what you're interested in. Maybe try and pick something on front end, maybe build something small on front end, and then pick something on back end and build something on back end as well, and then try to analyze which sort of side interests you the most.
Right. Can we use Python for DS algo? Yes, we can. How to learn DSA? I think we have also already covered this. Start with the fundamentals. Okay, there is a lot of material available. We already have Geekster is already there. Get enrolled with DSA if you're all on Geekster, and we have a data structure algorithm program. Data structure is in fact included in both the programs, in the Java track also, or in the MERN stack track also, right? And also otherwise online also there is a lot of material to learn DSA. Like I think like Geeks for Geeks is an amazing place where you can learn also, you can practice also. What is SD3? SDE stands for Software Development Engineer. When you actually when you're working at a company, basically they have different levels. Okay, so some companies have, when you join as a fresher, they give you a designation of Software Development Engineer 1. Then they keep promoting you to Software Development Engineer 1, 2, 3, and so on. So how to crack the interview of product-based company? I think also we have discussed this already. Can we implement DSA if I go over to MERN stack? Kunal, do you want to take this?
I think we have taken this question. So again, I
Right.
think I can reiterate that you can obviously implement, but then it depends on what you're trying to solve in the MERN stack. So MERN stack is like nothing but sort of a framework which is like helping you to build that web app. But then inside that web app as well, it would depend on like what sort of use case that you have. It could be sort of if it could be a use case where you want to store some data or like parse a data efficiently, or maybe store that data somewhere efficiently. So maybe you would need to choose a data structure in which you would want to structure your data, maybe on the back end, maybe on the front end.
All right. Okay, somebody is asking how to build logic in programming language.
Okay, so I think how to build logic, I think this would sort of a tough but then good question. So I would say it is as simple as, so for example, if you are, so when we start our computer science curriculum, maybe in our first class, when we are studying, it could be either that C class or maybe a data structure class, your instructor would give you a very good example on like how would you basically build a cake. So basically you would write down the steps, or first the ingredients that are needed, and then you would basically write down the steps that you would do to make that cake. So I think it is as simple as that. So basically you need to list down what problem you're trying to solve, and then you should basically list down what all you should basically divide your problem into sub problems basically. So once you divide your problem into sub problems, you will be able to see what sort of individual items that you can finish it up that would lead to your final solution. So I would say list down your problem, break down your problem into the things that you need to do, and then at every step, like try to solve it in sort of a partial way. So once you solve each and every steps that are involved in the problem, you would be able to build up the complete logic and lead to the solution.
Great. Okay, I'm combining three questions. Does age, gap, and the passing out year matter in a product-based company?
I would say like the companies don't have to do anything with your like either your age and then the gap. I would say there are some like examples where companies have a specific, I would say, requirement around the number of years of experience candidates should have at a specific role. So for example, a lot of companies as at SD1 only take interviews up till like for the people who have up till 2 years of experience. Or for example, companies at SD3 SD2 will have a like specific set of experience, like work experience, because like at every role, you are like you can only allocate people for a specific set of like work experience, because as you grow in work experience, the complete the complete structure is also like divided as per your work experience. So that would totally depend, I think, company to company.
All right. Okay, will you gauge us and help us in deciding whether what would be good for us, front and back end or full stack? Yes, we'll do that at Gigster. I have passed my entrance test. I want to enroll. Cool. We'll just talk about these things later on, guys, about Gigster. It is a program for after placement to pay. Yes, Gigster has a program for after placement to pay. You don't have to pay anything initially. Okay. How to ask for referral and what to do you see before referring. So first of all, I think Kunal has already mentioned, we have already talked about this, then you can maybe reach out to people. Like if you want to get into Zomato, you can reach out to people who are working at Zomato on LinkedIn, search for Zomato, then go to the people section, and then you will have the list of people. Then you can message them on LinkedIn that can you please refer me. You can attach your resume and your profile. If somebody is interested, they will definitely refer you. Usually people do. I don't think it is a big case. Like I have referred a lot of people. Also, one thing that you need to make sure is when you are asking somebody to refer you, make sure that you are ready with the preparations. Don't go unprepared, because somebody else is vouching for you. So do not disappoint them, right? Make sure you have a complete preparation for that company. So maybe you can search over the internet, like what question do they ask, what is the role that they are looking for, and then maybe ask for reference. Is full stack a demand job in future, Kunal?
Yeah, I would say like I would not say like specifically to full stack, but then obviously since websites will always be there. I mean, any sort of service that starts, any sort of like startup that is coming in, I mean, would always like to have their web app or a website. So I would say like you would have opportunities on like front end and back end.
All right. Okay, somebody's asking a question about the program. Okay, I'll answer that later on. Should I join the course right now for the course? This is from Souvik Kumar. Souvik, yes, you can join the course right now. Which programming language will we use in MonStack for DSA? In the MonStack, the programming language is self-explanatory. It will be, for DSA, it will be a combination of both Java and Node. How to ask for referral, roadmap of becoming a good front-end developer. We have already covered this. Okay, if I have to do good in front-end, do I need to learn advanced DSA?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you would need sort of advanced DSA on front end. So I think more or less, if you're good with like array, linked list, tree, and stack, I think you should be good with, I think, front end with, I think, whatever complex thing you're building.
All right. How to get a job as an SDE in product-based companies in the next 3 months? Can you give me a roadmap, please? I have enrolled with Geekster also. Munib, that you have already enrolled with Geekster. Can you reach out to me personally on the group and then we can talk about the roadmap? Because we have already, this is actually a large, big question. It will take some time and we have already spent about 1.5 hours into the program, right? Okay. I will work like hell for 5 months, Geekster program. Can I get referral in Google? You can get referral anywhere. I'm pretty sure you will get referral anywhere. How much system design is important for landing in product-based company like Uber and Flipkart?
Yeah, I think I can take that. So I would say as a fresher, like system design would not be important to you because like system design is something that you learn as you work on different problems, as you work on different, I would say, complex things in the software industry. So that is why companies, if you're coming in as freshers, companies won't ask you like the system design questions, and they would primarily focus only on data structures and algorithmic skills.
Absolutely. Okay, tell us about ISA process, how much we have to pay after. So basically you just have to sign an ISA agreement before you take up the main course. After the main course, we refer you to different companies. Once you are able to get a placement of, as I said, minimum 5 lakh CTC, then basically you have to pay us something. And this payment is usually about 20% of your annual CTC. Okay, the exact amount is something that will be covered in the ISA, but this amount, if I am saying 20%, suppose it's 1.25 lakh, then that 1.25 lakh, we do not ask you at one time. You actually have to pay it in the form of monthly installment. So again, we do not want it to be a financial burden on you. Is MCO students also have the same opportunity like BTech BE students? Yes, they also have the same opportunity more or less. Pass out year, we have already discussed. Sir, it's my last year in mechanical engineering. Will you teach us from scratch or some basic is required? You can get enrolled with us, Sandeep Bhandari, and we will help you with all the materials. Okay, we will teach you from the very scratch and we'll help us with all the materials. Please tell us how to enroll in our program. Just go to our website, which is www.geekster.in. Okay, okay, and you can fill up the form there and we will reach out to you. Okay. How to ask for referrals, we have already discussed. Okay, I think it's mostly about it. Please tell us about placement procedure of product-based companies. We have already covered this. I think we are how to get internship in a product-based company. Okay, this is a new question coming up, and this is the last question that we are taking, guys. So, Kunal, can you just help us with people like if they can get how can they get internship in product-based companies?
Yeah, I would say for internships as well, the process remains the same. I mean, the companies usually go to the college and then they, like, again, the process is same for the internship as well. They they again hold these like placement process for the internships as well. And if the company is not coming to your college, again they roll out the openings on their career portal and LinkedIn for the internships. So you can again either like directly apply on the career portal or LinkedIn, or you can ask any like any professional who is working in that company to refer you for that particular internship as well. So again, if you like get yourself referred, your chances of like getting shortlisted would be increased. And then the process also remains the same.
Absolutely. So guys, this was the last question that we had. Some people are asking for LinkedIn details. So this is Kunal's profile. You can just take a screenshot here. I will also copy paste this and okay, I'll copy paste this and put on the group chat also. So if somebody wants to reach out to him on LinkedIn, you can, this is his profile link. And if some of you want to reach out to me, then okay, this is my profile link for both LinkedIn and Instagram. You can search me with Coding Talkies with Vikas on Instagram. Okay. So guys, this is mostly about it. Okay, we have already like, it's been more than 1.5 hours and we have already answered a lot of questions. If there is any more questions, just feel free to reach out on my LinkedIn, okay, and I'll be happy to answer them. Also do visit www.geekster.in, and it's an amazing course that we have curated for all of you and it will be very helpful, I'm pretty sure. So just, okay, quickly guys, now in the chat, just tell me, give a feedback of the session. Did you guys like it? Was it helpful for you? What do you want to say to Kunal? Do you want to thank him? This is the last time that you can do it. Very much helpful for future. Somebody just sent me a direct message. Send it to everyone, Krish. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Very, very happy to see the result. Guys, we have recorded this session. We'll be posting this session on YouTube also very soon. And we'll be sharing the link. So don't worry, whoever has attended the session, we'll be sharing the link with all of you, okay? So it will be there on YouTube, so you can see the video there as well. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for attending. Thanks a lot for giving your time. Kunal, I'm extremely thankful to you for taking out so much of time. We had planned for an hour, but it extended for more than 1.5 hours. But seriously, thanks for all the patience, man.
Thanks, because I think we had a great session. I think connecting with you and then all the uni students. I think we helped clarify a lot of doubts for all of the students, and I hope like people get a lot of benefit by this session we had.
Awesome, surely, surely. People who are already at Geekster, just you already have the message trial in the announcement session. Just keep giving your feedback whether you like the session in the same post. Okay. Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Have a good weekend. Take care. We'll see you soon in another session. And thanks, Kunal, again. Bye-bye. Take care.